Hello, friends. This is Dan Masshart with you here this morning from the ERC Ministry Training Institute. And I just want to talk with you for a few minutes about a class that I am teaching coming up pretty soon this fall, but really at the end of the summer, New Testament 101. This is a class that I've taught once before a couple of years ago, and I'm excited to jump into again. And so in these few moments, I just want to talk to you about who this class is for, maybe what's going to happen there, what you can expect to learn, what the books we're going to use, and those kind of things are. So if you have any questions throughout this, I know not many will be able to just pick up on this live, but do leave a comment or question here on this video, and I'll be glad to engage with you. Also, I'll put my email in there, and you'll see the link there in the description that will take you to the page where you can download the syllabus that I'll be referring to, and also see some more information about the dates and times and those sort of things. So who's this class for? This class is really for anybody that wants to take a deeper dive into the New Testament, the background of the New Testament, the literature of the New Testament, the historical situation that was going on before and into which Jesus comes and brings his gospel, and into which these books are written. So in that way, it's a great opportunity for anybody who wants to do some of the deeper cultural, historical, contextual background that we just don't really have time to do on a Sunday morning sermon or in a Sunday school class a lot of times. And so in that way, it's an open invitation really to anybody. It's also a requirement for our pastoral track. So if you are in the Eastern Regional Conference and you are looking to get licensed or ordained with us, and you're not going a traditional Bible college or seminary route, this is our training program that's available to you for credentialing. And this class is one of the required classes. And it's one of the classes that you really should take earlier in the program, probably before licensing. And will help to really prepare you for licensing. I also happen to be on that commission that does credentials. So getting to know each other will be a good thing before that as well. So the difference between those two groups is kind of twofold. One, the cost is a little bit different. So to audit the class is $100, which we believe is very reasonable. And to take the class for credit, which would be in that program, is $150, which is also, if you compare it to traditional higher education, is very, very inexpensive. The other difference is to audit the class, you're not required to do the written coursework. But if you're taking the class on the pastoral track, the credentialing track, then you, of course, are required to do the written assignments. And you'll find those on the syllabus. I've adapted them a little bit from the last time I taught so that hopefully they're very helpful assignments to really help you process through what we're learning and able to then teach it to others. Because that is the goal, whether or not you're on a credential track or not, right? Our goal is to be able to understand more about Scripture, more about Jesus, so that we can share that with others, be it in our own families, with our Bible study groups, or in the context of more formalized ministry. So to that end, again, you'll see some of the things that are there. We're going to do a lot of shorter things just to kind of condense what we're learning and to be able to share it in practical ways. We'll do a bit larger research project as well for those who are taking for credit. But again, you'll see all those details there. And if you have questions about that, you can just let me know. The textbooks we're going to be using, I just want to talk about for a minute as well. Choosing textbooks is maybe harder than you realize. There's a lot of stuff out there. There's a lot of good stuff out there. Some stuff is really, really thick and kind of academically dense or hard to maybe process through. Other things are, in my mind, a little bit too simple. A little bit, they don't really interact with the scholarship as much as I would like. So I've tried to find things that get into that sweet spot that's accessible for us. We don't have to have a really strong academic background to be able to really engage with the material, but at the same time isn't really less than what we want for each other to be able to grow deeper. So the primary textbook that we have here is called Exploring the New Testament. It's not huge. It's a paperback volume. It's not really expensive relative to how these things can be. I do want you, if you take the class, to get the 3rd edition, the most recent one. Shop around, you'll find the best price. This volume only covers the Gospels and Acts, which is the kind of the primary meat of this first section. So there's going to be 2 sections that cover the New Testament. This one, offered again in the fall, starting at the very end of August, is going to cover the Gospels, Acts, and what we call the general epistles. So it's like 1st and 2nd Peter, 1st, 2nd, 3rd John, James, Jude, that stuff. Not Paul's letters, not Hebrews, and not Revelation, because those are all going to be in the spring. So you want to probably plan ahead for that if you're taking these classes, either just for your own enrichment or particularly on the pastoral track where you're going to need both of them. It'll probably be not next year, but the year after, maybe, that these things are offered again. So if you're on that credentialing path, kind of plan ahead for that. So because of that, and because of this book only covers the Gospels and Acts, I'm going to use the second companion volume primarily in the spring for the class that really is a lot on Paul's letters, also Hebrews and Revelation in that class as well too. That at the end, towards the end of this fall semester, I'd like you to also get this second volume that will again be the primary book for the second section as well. Even if you don't take that, it'll be a good resource for you to have. So this will help us with 1st and 2nd Peter, 1st, 2nd, 3rd John, those general epistles as well. Again, these 2 together are the same price as the textbook the fatter textbook that I used last time. So hopefully it's not too heavy in that regard. And then another book, a smaller book that we're going to read as well too, that I think you're going to like, or at least enjoy engaging with and thinking through together, is called Simply Good News by great New Testament scholar N.T. Wright. And this is going to kind of set an overall perspective on the whole New Testament, including what we're doing now and what we're going to be doing with Paul's writings here in the spring as well. So we're going to one of the things we're going to wrestle through in this class is, what is the good news, the gospel, the way that it would have been expected and understood in the first century world into which Jesus comes? What were the expectations? How does Jesus challenge those expectations? And how does that understanding of what the good news, the gospel, is interact with how we typically talk about it today? So it's going to be both challenging to us and hopefully very encouraging, as we want to always reshape what we believe around what Scripture says. That's kind of our goal. So hopefully this is good. We're going to do some class discussions with this book, and one of the assignments is to do a shorter, 2 to 4 page reflection on this book. You can disagree with some stuff, but we want you to wrestle with it. Is kind of the goal. So hopefully that's helpful and that's practical. These books, again, I mentioned with the textbooks. With the other one that I used before, some of the chapters were really long and really kind of academically dense. And although it's a fantastic textbook, some students had a hard time really engaging with it and taking away what they needed. These books have short chapters. I know we're all busy, right? We have things going on in life. And so you will see the assignments somewhat subject to change here on the second page of the syllabus. Again, that can be downloaded from the link. You can see what the assignments are before you sign up. You can see what generally the readings are going to be. This may get tweaked a little bit before we kind of jump off and get started with the class. But it's going to be, 1 or 2 chapters in this book a week, or a few chapters in that shorter N.T. Wright book in a week. It'll just kind of depend on what, on week to week. And again, you'll see that there. In addition to some reading in the biblical text, of course, right? So the Gospels and the text that we're reading for that week will be an expectation. Again, you'll see that all there. Also on the first page of the syllabus, you'll see kind of some of the core stuff. What is it that we're going to be talking about? I mentioned already, we're going to be talking about a lot of historical background. We're going to be talking about what happened in between the Testaments that's not in the Bible. There's a lot of things that happened in between Malachi and Matthew that aren't, in our Bibles, but they're so important to understand the culture, the times, the expectations, the messianic hopes that were going on, how people were reacting to secular control over them in various ways. And that's going to help us understand our times today and how we respond as followers of Jesus, as disciples as well. So I think that's going to be, you're going to really like that. One of the great things about the textbook is it's got sidebars that has primary source readings, Josephus, some of these things that were going on, First Maccabees, that really helps us understand more of the world. We're going to try to dive into that first century world, right? We're going to talk about how the New Testament came together. This is a question that, as skeptical audiences are all over YouTube, right? There are popular level books being written that basically will say you've been duped about the Bible, right? They left out books that should be there, and they included books that are question marks and those kind of things. And we need to be able to answer those challenges to the authenticity, right, of our scriptures, and to kind of wrestle with some of the harder things, right? Why is it that they didn't seem to have written down the Gospels right away? It took them a few or more decades to really prioritize getting the gospel from oral culture into written form. And we'll kind of wrestle through our expectations versus, again, how they thought in that world. We're talking about ultimately, this is the most important thing, right? We're going to talk about how each book of the New Testament makes a unique contribution to the shaping of ourselves as disciples of Jesus Christ, right? How each book of the Bible provides a unique contribution to our understanding of who Jesus is and how we are to live in the world as his disciples. So this class is going to be, yes, on one level, it's going to be academic and challenging in that way, hopefully in an accessibly challenging way. But at the end of the day, our goal is always, right, to make disciples and to grow in our love of God, our love of the scripture, and our faithfulness as his disciples. So hope that's encouraging to you. This class is going to be on the ground at the congregation that I serve in. We have a good facility for this. It's right outside of New Cumberland, Pennsylvania, which for some of you is going to be close. For some of you, it's going to be further, right? If you're down towards Carlisle, Newville, Shippensburg direction, it's 45 minutes to an hour. So the plan is also to offer the Zoom option, right? As we all know, the Zoom has a lot of limitations. It has some advantages for accessibility. So we'll have to figure that out. But the plan is to do the hybrid thing, right? How that's going to work out in reality. But hopefully it works such that maybe even unless you're really, really far away, maybe you can come to at least some of the classes in person. And then maybe need to Zoom in for some. And if you're at more of a distance, maybe you just need to Zoom all the time. But I do want to encourage you, if you're thinking about taking this class, if you're within a reasonable but questionable distance, to try to get here as much as you can, because I do believe that the class discussions and interactions and the relationships that we build together throughout this process are going to be worth some inconvenience in that regard. So process through that. We'll work it out. We'll figure it out. But I'm looking forward to getting to know you personally, to sharing some of life together, our stories together, and to dig in to the scripture, to the context, to the culture, to our faithfulness in following Jesus together. I hope to see you there. Again, any questions, just let me know. Hope to see you soon. Bye.